Today we are going to be watching a 45-minute analysis of Anita Sarkeesian's newest video, at the time of this release, of Tropes versus Women in Video Games, Background Decoration, Part 2. I will try to be a neutral party, but I must make you aware of this. I am a game player. You're watching this on someone who plays games. I enjoy my games, but I also enjoy females. I enjoy them by basically chatting to them. I enjoy that they have equal rights nowadays in most of society, and I enjoy engaging with them. You might understand what I'm saying, but currently I've got a cold. This is my main excuse for it. It might seem a bit odd the way I say a few things, but I've got a cold and not feeling too good. But I wanted to put this out there. I am a gamer, and I also believe in women's rights to do anything they wish, unhindered, unharmed, such as it may be. But Anita Sarkeesian, I have problems with the way she is saying things in this video. And I will prove to you that she is antagonizing both the female demographic of gamers, the feminists, and the male demographic of gamers harshly. She is antagonizing all of us. She is causing all of us to fight amongst each other. And I will prove it.
Grab a whore and have a good time.
What is this single section of her video saying? It's right at the start. It's the first thing you hear, but it's not from Anita herself. It is a quote from a Dragon Age mission, which I unfortunately have not played, Dragon Age Origins to be precise. What is it doing for the people who are watching this video? Well, what is it doing for people who are not gamers? This is proving her point in a very harsh way. Gamers are sexist pigs, according to this. Gamers are people who are below you. People who say those sort of grab a whore, enjoy yourself sort of things. But for gamers, it also has a reaction as well. It has the reaction of, you are taking the piss, because you have said a single quote from one mission from Dragon Age Origins out of context that nobody would understand. In context, it is understandable. And non-gamers would not know that is not the protagonist of a game. You are not playing the person who said those words. You are playing some person who is fighting against the person who said those words. A non-gamer would not know this. This is what gets gamers up in arms. It's a subconscious thing that they realise this instantly, but they don't know why they're angry. Before the video has even started, before she's even said a word, she's got both sides of the argument riled up.
The marketing blitz surrounding the release of the 2006 game Hitman Blood Money featured several advertisements depicting the murdered bodies of sexualized women with captions like, "beautifully executed." Even in death, these lingerie-clad women are posed provocatively in a way designed to sexually arouse straight male viewers. If we compare the Hitman ads featuring female victims to those featuring assassinated men, we immediately notice that male characters are not displayed in sexualized clothing or positions. Maimed female bodies, on the other hand, are often fetishized and sexually objectified.
Miss Sarkeesian seems to be missing the point. The point of this is that it's not done by the game makers. These print ads are not done by people making the game. The game makers go to people like Mad Men, advertising agencies, to sell the game, to basically make the promotional material so that the game could be sold in print ads, in TV, etc. People in the advertising industry know that sex sells. And it's not just for men. Here's some proof.
New Greek-style oikos yogurt. Thick, smooth and gorgeously creamy. With a luscious layer of fruit just waiting to be discovered. It's a whole new world of deliciousness.
Well, you've got to allow yourself a few luxuries. You all right down there?
New Greek-style oikos. Seriously luxurious.
As you saw right there was scantily clad men walking around serving the woman a yogurt. Now, there would be an uproar if it was women serving a man a beer or a burger. This would be against her rule of thumb, Anita Sarkeesian's rule of thumb. But she's missing the point. It's not the yogurt makers who are making the advert, it's the advertising agency. Advertising agencies make millions of dollars selling us everything from a remote to a drink. They want their products to be sold. That's why the advertising agency sells the products the way they do. Sex sells in advertising. But she is missing the point. If it was only females in the print ads for Hitman Blood Money, she would have a significant point, and I would slightly, ever so slightly, agree with her. But there are men in positions saying, of being assassinated. They are to entice female gamers. I know the market at the time for a Hitman game was small in the female demographic, but it does not mean a female cannot play Hitman Blood Money. There is nothing to say that any game cannot be played by a male or a female. The print ads having a female and a male means that it is not a male-specific game. It can be played by anyone.
1940s pulp novel-inspired L.A. noir used similar images in some promotional materials displaying the sexualized dead bodies of murdered women as a selling point for the game. This drop-dead gorgeous trope, as it's called, is commonly used in other forms of mass media, especially in fashion advertising. It is the collusion of violence done to women's bodies and the fact that it is often sexualized. The idea being that a dead woman is still inherently beautiful, even if her body has been maimed, her life stolen from her. Something arousing still remains available for male consumption.
I think Miss Sarkeesian is also making a mistake with this view. Women can also have the same effect. If you, say, put Justin Bieber in a dead pose wearing hardly anything, most men would cheer, but most women would swoon as well. This is something that is equal to both sexes. I don't think that that is a correct statement. It's sexist to say that women are, when deceased, are attractive to men, but also it is the other way around. When a dead man, a hot dead man, basically Brad Pitt or something, women would be attracted. And also she says that it is used in fashion advertising. Fashion advertising is not directed at men. Fashion advertising is directed at women. Fashion advertising is things like Vogue or Marie Claire, things like that. You do not find fashion advertising of that particular type in things like FHM, Maxim, men's magazines. You find men in suits, men driving cars, things like that. Fashion advertising is to advertise to the particular sex. You do not have a naked woman advertising a suit. Neither do you have a naked man advertising a bikini. It just does not work like that.
Well, that's one less elf breeder in the world.
A shame, though. Nice body on that one.
She's still warm. How picky are you, anyway?
This particular part of the video emphasises the beginning section, which basically shows gamers as people who are depraved, because lack of knowledge of Dragon Age Origins means that you are not aware that those are antagonists saying those lines. From the way it's shot, it looks like the player is making them say it. She has basically disconnected any understanding for people who do not understand the video game industry or video games in general. Antagonists say these things, not protagonists. People you play rarely say these things in games. And if they do, it's rare. It's not unheard of, but it is extremely rare.
Developers regularly utilize the brutalization of women's bodies, and especially the bodies of female prostitutes, as an indicator of just how harsh, cruel, and unforgiving their game worlds are. In some of the most pernicious examples, dead or mutilated female bodies are used to decorate virtual game environments as a way to invoke a sexually charged, creepy mood or edgy atmosphere. Mafia 2: Joe's Adventure includes a gun battle which takes place over the dead body of an exotic dancer, who moments earlier was performing a routine for the player. A grisly example can be found in Bioshock 2, where mutilated, eroticized female bodies are seen scattered throughout the Pink Pearl Bordello area in Siren Alley. Again, we can compare the way the murdered male bodies are displayed and notice the distinct lack of sexualization in their presentation. The male corpses may be designed to evoke a sense of horror or disgust, but it's not coupled with elements of sexual titillation in the same way that female bodies are.
Miss Sarkeesian says that prostitutes are used in games to flesh out the game universe. That can be the case, but it shows that this is not a nice world to be in. You are the hero. You are trying to improve the world that you are playing in. You are trying to help people. In some games, there are missions where you can help prostitutes get out of the business. And things like in Watch Dogs, there are particular missions where you help people who have been captured, females who have been captured and objectified, get out of situations like she's saying. But there is one thing that annoys me about this. She has made a mistake. She thinks that Dead Island, in the sequence you just saw, has a brothel or prostitutes. That is not the case. She has been mistaken. It is a pleasure island. It is a holiday destination. There are no prostitutes. There is no brothel. But I also think she's made a mistake with Bioshock 2. If there was a male strip club, you would find males in Bioshock 2 sexually posed in death situations. Because at the time, the females were doing their job. And they were entertaining the customer so that they would be shown in sexual positions as of their death. If it was a male stripper, he would also be shown in equally the same light. This, I feel, is not uncommon in gaming, but it is not something that is pervasive. It is not overly used. It does not happen in Skyrim. It is used sparingly in some games. In other games, it is used a lot more. But in each time, it is shown that those words are harsh, are very harsh. Female mutilation is supposed to make the player feel anger and feel that they want to fight whoever caused this, to protect the woman who had been slaughtered, to get revenge.
Red Dead Redemption includes multiple depictions of assaulted female prostitutes. In the Stranger Side mission Ava in Peril, the protagonist happens upon a Mexican prostitute being beaten.
Sí, tú eres puta! Hey, Migo, give it a rest. Enough. Stop hitting the girl. There, you happy now?
The player can choose to buy her from her abuser for $200 to stop the attack, though she is later murdered by her assailant anyway.
Anita says that in the Red Dead Redemption mission that she speaks of, you can buy the prostitute, but it does not mean you are buying her for sexual favours. You are buying her freedom. She neglects to say that John Marston is an outlaw, but he is not a bad man. He has morals, as do most gamers. Her words in this segment are chosen exquisitely wonderfully. So that she is giving the impression that the gamer will be using her for pleasure later on in that game. For non-gamers, this still paints the picture of depraved activity that is gaming. And that even that the woman is killed at the end, you don't understand that you then kill him. The person who sold you her, to make sure that he does not hurt another woman.
You like her? You can have her. Yeah, she's pretty clean and pretty dirty also, huh? She's yours for 200 American dollars.
Mario, you are evil.
No, Eva, I'm just a cowherd who can no longer afford the cattle.
Rape and sexual assault are also frequently used as a sort of narrative currency to try and raise the emotional stakes and heighten the dramatic tension for gamers.
Давай, mama. Come on. Spread them legs.
Oh, please, don't. No!
Корова! What? You think you're too good for us?
No! Please! Please help! Ah!
Quiet, you sucking a bitch! Shut the fuck up!
Anita Sarkeesian neglected to mention that you can actually intervene in that last scene in Metro Last Light. You can intervene saving the woman from the horrific event. Also, she neglects to mention that Larston does free the woman who he pays, or he chooses to pay, $200 for. This is still more things that antagonize the people who are gamers and the people who are not gamers. It shows that gamers are depraved. We are not depraved. We have wonderful things such as esports, such as conventions, such as hobbies. This is a hobby. If a hobby like this was as depraved as Anita is saying, it would not have taken off.
In Grand Theft Auto V, one such chance encounter features a scene evocative of sexual assault, in which a young woman is being attacked and held down by two men on the side of the road.
Get off of me, you old pervert!
Walk away! Don't make this your problem!
The player can rescue her by killing her assailants, or simply watch the scene play out in front of them. These vignettes are not major plot points. Instead, violence against women is essentially used as a set piece to establish or punctuate the seedy atmosphere of crime and chaos-ridden fictional universes.
You like that? That feel good? Fuck.
It's meant to paint the gaming environment with a harsh brush, but it ends up doing so on the backs of women's bodies, casually sacrificing female characters in the name of setting a ruthless narrative tone.
Miss Sarkeesian neglects to state at this point that these women can be saved. She also neglects to mention that this is a player decision to save these women, and it is also a player decision to watch. I feel that this is also antagonizing gamers. Okay, these are choices that the player makes, but the player is not given a reward for watching. Neither is he given much reward for intervening.
It's worth noting that there are striking tonal and thematic similarities between female victims used as background decoration and other tropes we've discussed in previous episodes. The second installment in the Assassin's Creed series, for instance, features a sequence called Damsels in Distress, in which the player must hunt down a man who has murdered a female prostitute.
Come, join us, Ezio. Have a drink. Meet the ladies.
Murderer! Butcher! He sliced Lucia and stole her money! So, Messer Ezio, let's see just how talented you are. After him!
During the sequence, the killer will run and take a courtesan hostage.
Don't come any closer, or I will carve up another one.
If the player gets too close, the assailant will slit her throat
Kill again.
and run to the next nameless courtesan. Take her hostage, murder her.
It wasn't my fault. She laughed at me. She made me do it. Another one.
Then grab another.
On your hands.
Murder her, grab another, and another, until the player manages to shoot and kill the perpetrator from a sufficient distance.
This is something that I think Anita has also managed to neglectfully mention. She has not mentioned that every single time you lose points, you lose karma for doing that, for letting the courtesans be slaughtered. It is not a good thing. It is driven into you that letting innocents die is a bad thing in Assassin's Creed. I feel that she has neglected to mention, or she did mention it, but it was in passing. It was not a main point that these women can be saved if the actual activity is done correctly. It is more that you can keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. That is wrong. Any normal gamer would strive to get the activity done as quickly as possible, to shoot the assailant.
In Ubisoft's Watch Dogs, scripted crime events randomly generate throughout the game's open-world environment, some of which graphically depict incidents of domestic violence.
So you think you can just leave me?
Jesus, you need to stop following me.
Come on, babe, don't be like that.
I've had it with you. You're nuts.
That's it. I've had it with your lip.
Don't!
I'll teach you.
These scenes are programmed to repeat themselves randomly dozens of times during gameplay.
You think you're leaving me? Huh?
Jesus, you need to stop following me.
I'm not done with you. Not yet.
You need to get out of here right now.
I'll fucking kill you, goddammit!
No, don't!
If the player reaches the victim within the 10-second intervention window, the woman can be rescued by killing her abuser. However, if the player doesn't reach her in time, she is murdered and the perpetrator will flee, providing gamers the opportunity to hunt you down. Tellingly, if the player gets too close to the assault before it occurs, the abuser will be scared off and the player will fail the mission.
Hey, we need to talk.
Gaining no experience points and no boost to his reputation meter. The only options available are to wait until the assault is in progress, then either take out the perpetrator during the assault, or take him down after the assault has happened.
Hey, we need to talk.
There's nothing to talk about. We're done. Deal with it.
You're so fucking wrong. I'm not done yet.
I gotta stop him now.
I'll scream.
Oh, I'll teach you. We're not done. We are not done. I'll fucking kill you.
No game mechanics are provided to call an EMT, administer first aid, or check in on the victim. Meaning that these female characters exist to be assaulted, in order to give the player something to do, a reason to chase down the bad guy, exact vigilante justice on him, and gain the allotted experience points. After which the women are casually discarded, forgotten by the game and its characters.
Anita Sarkeesian doesn't seem to realise that the game mechanic of the entire game is you are a vigilante. Calling the paramedics would mean that you are going to be seen, she is dead already. The main aim of that particular section is to intervene before she is killed. That is how you get the maximum number of points and reputation, because you have saved someone. Not because you have let someone die. You gain less reputation, you gain less points. You also gain a slight problem. Not saving people later in the game causes a problem that you do not have the reputation required. You don't have a good reputation. This game is... this game is poor, to say the least. But I feel that she is giving this game too much credit for what it is doing. It is trying to show you... It is trying to make you feel like you are saving someone's life. That you are saving them. You're not stopping the fight. The fight is going to happen either way, whether you intervene or not. Okay, they are disposable characters, but they are not disposable people. Nobody in gaming would ever say that any character is disposable.
Of course, there also exist scripted events involving male NPCs, but those encounters are framed in distinctly different ways.
This is the place. This guy is going to
You
act.
got some serious shit to sort out with the boys. Oh, man, someone's playing you, man. Ah! You never fucking learn.
When the victims are men, sexual objectification and sexual or domestic violence are almost never ingredients in the scenario. Even the countless male thugs and henchmen the player mows down in these games are depicted as active aggressors, not characterized as passive victims.
There have been no games, to my knowledge, where aggressors are passive victims. Somebody shooting a gun at you is not a victim, he is an enemy. He is somebody to be taken out for points or eliminated to get to the next objective. Saving women is... Some women in gaming are not passive. People like Miranda Lawson, Ashley Williams of the Mass Effect series are active. They are active people trying to save themselves, trying to save the galaxy with Commander Shepard, male or female. A male or female Commander Shepard. They are people who are trying to help people. Saying that all women are passive is wrong, and saying that all people should be passive, non-aggressive would destroy gaming. This is wrong.
Let go of me! Stop, please!
It's a party, isn't it? Grab a whore and have a good time. Savor the hunt, boys.
It's just a goddamn whore, man. A goddamn filthy whore.
It's a lazy shorthand for evil, meant to further motivate the protagonist to take the villain down and help justify the excessive violence committed by the player in these games. After all, if the random thugs or villains are so heartless and vile they attack helpless women, then the player can feel completely justified and even take pleasure in murdering them in ever more gruesome ways.
Where's your respect?
Thank God. That was so awful. Did you hear what they were saying to me?
These women and their bodies are sacrificed in the name of infusing mature themes into gaming stories. But there's nothing mature about flippantly evoking shades of female trauma. It ends up sensationalizing an issue which is painfully familiar to a large percentage of women on this planet, while also normalizing and trivializing their experiences.
Nowhere in gaming culture or in any game I have played personally is it normalized, trivialized to be raping or objectifying a woman. I find this very annoying, and I find it antagonizes gamers. This is what pissed most of us off, and it pisses me off. I'm sorry, I was supposed to be objective during this, but she is adept at pushing the right buttons to annoy the gaming players, the people who play the games, who enjoy the artistry of making the game. People, hundreds of thousands of people make games, and it is insulting that she thinks that games trivialize such things like this. In game universes, people can be saved. This is what is important. This is what 98% of games are about. Saving people, helping people, making sure the world is a brighter place by the end screen. This is what annoys me. She thinks that every time someone is hurt, a female is hurt, she is being objectified. Well, no. You are, as the player, trying to help everyone you can and to have fun. It is a fictional world. It is not the real world. The real world is harsh. Anita Sarkeesian has found out that it can be harsh by the burden of, how should I put this? Gamers. Gamers have been abusing Anita Sarkeesian over the internet. I do not agree with what they have done, but they make my point perfectly. In games, that sort of thing does not happen. That sort of thing gets sorted out. There is a hero, there is a player to sort out that problem. In the real world, there is no hero to sort out the problem. There are organizations, maybe, yes, but people get killed, people get injured, women get killed, women get raped, men get raped. It's not uncommon. And there are no superheroes, there are no criminals being played by someone so that they can help. You are helping people in GTA. You can help people in millions of games to make sure that they are safe. That it's a better world. It's a fictional world.
Sexual and domestic violence is at epidemic levels in the real world. 1 out of every 5 women in the United States will be raped in their lifetimes. 1 in 4 will be sexually assaulted. And women involved in prostitution are at a much higher risk of violence because they're seen as vessels to be used by others, rather than as fully human. So when games casually use sexualized violence as a ham-fisted form of character development for the bad guys, it reinforces a popular misconception about gendered violence by framing it as something abnormal, as a cruelty only committed by the most transparently evil strangers. In reality, however, violence against women, and sexual violence in particular, is a common everyday occurrence, often perpetrated by normal men, known and trusted by those targeted. The truth is, the vast majority of cases are committed by friends, colleagues, relatives, and intimate partners. The gendered violence epidemic is a deep-seated cultural problem present in the homes, communities, and workplaces of many millions of women all over the world.
Anita Sarkeesian is stating that this happens all over the world, that women get abused raped. Yes, it does. It is a harsh part of reality that is more important than understanding why women are abused in games. They can be abused, but they are abused so that the hero can come in and save them. Where are the heroes for people in real life? Where are the heroes for women who get abused, get raped? There aren't any. Anita, I do suggest, if you ever watch this, you should more concentrate on those women than people who play games. People who play games are there to enjoy themselves. It is a hobby enjoyed by men and women throughout the world. People do not need to know that this happens in games. They can know, but it doesn't need your long explanation that this somehow could be causing it. From your inclinations, from your tonage of your speech in the game, from her tonage of the speech in the game, she is inclining the idea that gamers are responsible for the rapes, for the damage to women throughout the world. Well, no, we're not. We're people enjoying a harmless pastime that has never hurt a soul, has never killed anyone, has never caused anyone harm. Rape does. I think it would be more important if all her Kickstarter money went to people who have been raped, who have been injured. It does not mean that gamers don't do it. There are some people who are mentally ill who might. But it doesn't mean that you should be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars explaining why gamers are evil and why games are evil. Games are not evil. People who cause crime, who kill, are evil. Gamers are not.
There's a clear difference between replicating something and critiquing it. It's not enough to simply present misery as miserable and exploitation as exploitative. Reproduction is not, in and of itself, a critical commentary. A critique must actually center on characters exploring, challenging, changing, or struggling with oppressive social systems. But the game stories we've been discussing in this episode do not center on or focus on women's struggles, women's perseverance, or women's survival in the face of oppression. Nor are these narratives seriously interested in any sort of critical analysis or exploration of the emotional ramifications of violence against women on either a cultural or an interpersonal level. The truth is that these games do not expose some kind of gritty reality of women's lives or sexual trauma, but instead sanitize violence against women and make it comfortably consumable. Now, to be clear, I'm certainly not saying stories seriously examining the issues surrounding domestic or sexual violence are off limits for interactive media. However, if game makers do attempt to address these themes, they need to approach the topic with the subtlety, gravity, and respect that the subject deserves. Though not about the abuse of women, the 2012 indie title Papa and Yo is an example of a game that respectfully deals with the very serious issue of alcoholism and domestic violence against children. The game does so by telling its story from the point of view of a protagonist directly affected by the trauma of abuse, not someone on the outside coming to their rescue. It focuses on the journey of a figure who is struggling through a traumatic situation and attempting to deal with the repercussions of violence. It makes that struggle to cope and survive central to both the narrative and gameplay, not peripheral set dressing to a story about something else. And critically, the game employs powerful metaphoric imagery to make its point instead of relying solely on sensationalized or exploitative depictions of the abuse itself. Papa and Yo is an intense and at times gut-wrenching game that doesn't sugarcoat or glamorize violence. In this way, it's an honest and emotionally resonant experience for players.
I'm sorry, Papa and Yo is not a hard 18. Because if it was a hard 18, then I would agree it does not sugarcoat violence or distressing scenes. But it does. It does show those scenes in a different way that doesn't mean that you see them. In games like GTA 5, where you see the woman being molested and you can act, that is a violent act. That is why it is a hard 18 game. All the games she has spoken of in this episode are mature games, are for a mature audience, teenagers and above. Popper and Yo is an indie game. It is a lower rating than the harder games. That is something that I don't think she quite understands.
We must remember that games don't just entertain. Intentional or not, they always express a set of values and present us with concepts of normalcy. So what do games that casually rely on depictions of female victimhood tell us about women vis-a-vis their place in society? Well, the pattern of utilizing women as background decoration works to reinforce the myth that women are naturally fated to be objectified, vulnerable, and perpetually victimized by male violence. These games also tend to frame misogyny and sexual exploitation as an everlasting fact of life, as something inescapable and unchangeable. This dominant narrative surrounding the inevitability of female objectification and victimhood is so powerful that it not only defines our concepts of reality, but it even sets the parameters for how we think about entirely fictional worlds, even those taking place in the realms of fantasy and science fiction. It's so normalized that when these elements are critiqued, the knee-jerk response I hear most often is that if these stories did not include the exploitation of women, then the game world would feel too unrealistic or not historically accurate. What does it say about our culture when games routinely bend or break the laws of physics and no one bats an eye? When dragons, ogres, and magic are inserted into historically influenced settings without objection? We're perfectly willing to suspend our disbelief when it comes to multiple lives, superpowers, health regeneration, and the ability to carry dozens of weapons in a massive invisible backpack. But somehow, the idea of a world without sexual violence and exploitation is deemed too strange and too bizarre to be believable.
Now, to say that it's not believable, it's not true. It can be believable, but the chances of it actually happening in anyone's lifetime are very, very low. There will always be centres of the community which are poorly educated, poorly managed, and poorly advised. This means that crime, things like objectification of women, will be more accepted in those parts. Saying that a science fiction without having objectifying of women would not be possible is very true, because it happens in classic science fiction such as Star Trek, The Next Generation, the original series, classic shows that show that even in a utopia world like Starfleet and with the Federation, these things happen. They're never not going to happen. Sorry, it's just a fact.
The truth is that objectification and sexual violence are neither normal nor inevitable. We do not have to accept them as some kind of necessary cultural backdrop in our media stories. Contrary to popular belief, the system of patriarchy has not existed for all of history across all time and all cultures, and as such it can be changed. It is possible to imagine fictional worlds, even of the dark, twisted dystopian variety, where the oppression and exploitation of women is not framed as something expected and inevitable. When we see fictional universes challenging or even transcending systemic gender oppression, it subverts the dominant paradigm within our collective consciousness and helps make a more just society feel possible, tangible, and within reach.
Having those lofty goals in fiction is a reasonable goal. But I feel that criticizing fiction is something that we should not be doing. We should be more actually rooting out the cause of real life attacks against women than worrying about computer games. Computer games are a very good medium for showing that this stuff happens. You don't seem to understand that, Anita Sarkeesian, and I feel sorry for you that you don't. So, in conclusion, all of her points are warped. She is saying reasonable things, but she's saying it so that she antagonizes both the game players and the non-game players. She's causing a rift between both sets of people. She's in the middle laughing, while people in no man's land are getting shot. Because basically, we are people. I am a reasonable gamer. I am not a hardcore gamer. I enjoy my games. You are watching this from a gaming channel. I enjoy good games. I enjoy good games with good morals, good ideas, good mechanics, good gameplay, good stories. I enjoy being the hero of those games, fighting the good fight. Whether it be to save a woman, save a droid, save a planet. I prefer good games. I do not prefer games that coddle hard subjects. With her ideas, I would have games that coddle hard subjects. That is not a gaming world I want to believe in. And that is not a gaming world anyone should believe in. Please, everyone who's watched this, ignore Anita Sarkeesian. Her views are wrong. Just ignore her. Do not engage. She is what I class as a troll. She's a very clever troll, but a troll nonetheless. Because she is engaging the non-game players and the game players, angering the two parts of society. She wants to cause every single game player, people who play and enjoy games on whatever medium they wish, harm. Just ignore her. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like, please subscribe. Please comment. Please tell me what you think. Goodbye.